which makes it an exciting and very dynamic company to be involved in. So she's going to share with us today some of the involvement that DHL has had with the SDGs. So I have a few questions for you. The first one, considering you can talk about this a little bit further, what is the role of DHL in sustainability and in the SDGs so far?
Okay, well, thanks first of all for having me here and for giving me such a pleasant interviewer. The role of DHL, and I think maybe let me start with saying for the general private sector, is to be an equal player such as governments and everyone needs to be. I think also companies should really take on the SDGs and see how can they positively influence towards reaching them. For DHL, what we did is we looked at all of them and we said we have to support all of them. However, at the same time, we do have more impact on some of them than on others. And in order to really get a grip on it and get really all of our 500,000 employees and our big machine running on it, I think it's good if you really focus also on where do you have the main impact. So we have selected 5 SDGs where we specifically also want to put programs behind them, where we want to track our progress and where we actually can also hold ourselves responsible for achieving them.
What are some of the SDGs that you're working in? I think if you could elaborate a little bit more about that.
So we have chosen quality education, decent work and economic growth, climate action, sustainable cities and communities, and partnerships. And just to elaborate on a few, so climate action, we are proud of having been the first logistics company to set ourselves a CO2 target. So we already did that in 2008, and we said we would want to reduce 30% CO2 for everything we produce. So in our business, that is for everything every ton kilometer we ship, every warehouse or office space square meter that we have. And we've already reached 25% last year, and I'm pretty optimistic that we can even reach the target before. And then we also want to increase it again and really say how can we even go one step beyond and what can be now the next very aggressive and ambitious target. So that's one, and then also maybe staying in the area of environmental protection on the sustainable cities. What we do is we try to pilot and work with all sorts of partners on how can we actually do the inner city distribution, because we reach kind of everyone with our services. How can we do that with really no local air pollutants, as quiet, so less noisy, and I think we've been pretty successful in that because there have been obstacles. For example, the availability of e-mobility, but what we then did is we said, okay, if there's no vehicle available, then we'll just build our own. So what we did is, even though we're not a car manufacturer, we went into building our own delivery vehicle, and we are deploying that now all over the place.
Well, that's a very interesting panorama of what's going on at DHL. I was just wondering, considering you have over 500,000 employees, that's a big workforce. Is the company taking a few actions in which the employees are getting involved with the SDGs?
I think most of the actions that we take involve, if not all of the actions that we take involve employees. So say, for example, quality education. We have big programs working also together with partners such as Teach for All, where our employees are engaged, be it as mentors or in other terms. We also have, for example, around volunteering, we will target that. We have every year a volunteer day. It's actually throughout the whole year, but there's a certain period of time in the year where we actually push this and really motivate everyone to contribute to society or environment. And we want to now shape this according to the SDGs so that actually everyone knows this is what I could do this year for the SDGs.
That's wonderful. You had a launch of the commitment of DHL to the SDGs during this exciting festival. So what does this commitment include?
So it includes that we say we support all of them, and we've defined how we can support all of them. But as I said, we have chosen the 5 focus ones. So for those, we really want to put, we already partly have, and where we don't have, we want to put distinct programs behind them, where you can also track and see what have we done. So we aiming for a very strong commitment, and I think it plays well with what we have done in the past. So some of them tie nicely. I mean, it would be really a bad sign if nobody had ever done anything on these great topics. So I think it ties well with what we've done before, and now helps us to strengthen even some parts of our engagement.
That's absolutely wonderful to hear that such a big company is involved in the process of achieving the SDGs, and with a very specific knowledge on which are the SDGs you're contributing the most. So in that sense, you talk about partnerships. What are some of the partnerships or different alliances that DHL is promoting with other sectors to achieve the SDGs, besides from what you identify at the company?
So I'm just going to mention a few. So for example, we have a long-standing partnership with the United Nations, with UN OCHA, where we partner in disaster response. So we have our own disaster response teams, and we can be within 72 hours pretty much everywhere in the world where there's disaster happens. And we found out that mostly it's not that if there's a disaster, be it an earthquake like in Nepal or a flood or something, it's not that aid is not coming into the country, but it's this, say, for example, Nepal, it's this rather tiny